Well, hello, and we're back again with a new episode of Dance Jams. Today we are going to talk about the best dancer. No, that's not me. And no, and it's also not Ton Greten. But Ton is, of course, always with me. So, hey, Ton, are you there?
I'm there, Sean. Nice to hear you. So, a very nice subject. That's the shortest name what we ever had. The
I think
best
so. The
dancer.
shortest, the best dancer. I first thought we were going to talk about me, but no, I am not the best dancer. Maybe you all think that I am, but I'm not.
Mm.
And Ton is
I'm the best dancer. I am in my mind.
in your mind. In your mind, the best dancer. All right, yeah. Why this strange title, Ton? Why did we pick this today?
um, because some programs
Mm-hmm.
they call dance programs on TV. They
Yeah,
call
TV
them.
shows. Yeah.
They call them. We're looking for the best dancer. But in the meantime, people, dancers from a dance academy, they cannot join the competition because they are too experienced, too good. That's very subjective.
Yeah.
But actually, and then when they find the winner or the winner for that week, they are the best dancer from the Netherlands or from the United States or from Japan. But that's some marketing trick, but people believe that. And when I say to the people, to my people, you saw this program, Project Dance. There is the best dancer in the Netherlands. And I said to them, yes, but the best dancers couldn't do or enter this competition because uh, they do an education on a university. They have a lot of experience and they couldn't join it because they are overrated for this program.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Overqualified. Yeah. Well, okay.
Overqualified, yes.
It has to have a name. It has to have a name. But people like to qualify things like, the best and the worst and stuff
Yes.
like that. And in some sports, even there it's really hard. But let's say a 100-meter sprint, the one goes, is the first over the finish line. You could
Yeah.
call them the best of that day, right? So, but
Yes.
a sport or an art form like dance, it's really hard to define what's the best. So, what's the
Yeah.
reason why people always wanna do that, Ton? What's the reason why people always wanna know who's the best?
I don't know. That's a mind fuck. They say it in the Netherlands. They give it a format or a framing. They frame it like that. And this is because when you repeat it and you repeat it, then suddenly people believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's framing, actually.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can understand why they call a TV show the best dancer of. It makes
Mm.
a lot more sense, of course, right? Then it's kind of like you said, it's a marketing trick. The downside is that people actually believe that person is the dance. So very often I hear students coming in and said, "Oh, said did you had dance lessons before?" Oh, he said, "Yeah. We had dance lessons from a world champion." I said, "Okay, that sounds really great. Who is it?" And then they give me a name. Never heard of it. All of those people could be on my side, right? They probably, if they
Yeah.
mention my name to other people, they might never heard of me either. But then I figure out like, oh, okay, yeah, you must have heard of them because they have been world champions. And now in our industry, Ton, if it comes to ballroom and Latin dancing, then I think I know all the world champions from the last 4 decades at least.
No, no, I don't think because we have four world organizations in the ballroom Latin,
Yeah.
and we have maybe over 100 or maybe over 200 world organizations who has a world championship in one of other kind of dancing. And then you have we give examples later, and then you will understand it. Because when somebody wins a title in some organization, say in a ballroom organization, then you have different levels also in it, but also different, how will you say, categories. One is amateurs, one is professional, one is then in the age like adults or youth or junior or children. And in other organization, even you can be a beginner world champion. They don't call it beginner, but then you are actually, they have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and even something in between. And then when the children, they call them, yeah, we are world champion,
Hmm.
but in the beginners, but they not say that, and they say also not the organization. So they put this on social media, and you see, ah, this child is world champion, but no organization, no age group, no level. Uh, but people believe it. They are world champion, so
Well,
they must be the best.
well, they of course are right in that age category or group, which is good. It's probably a really great achievement. Let's not take anything away from
No,
that.
no, no, no.
Yeah,
That's a
so
great
that's
achievement. Absolutely.
it's often a great achievement. But yeah, we do that. We always like to measure people who's the best and who's the probably we don't say that, but if you measure who's the best, you also unfortunately measure who's the worst in whatever criteria that is. Um, so yeah, people constantly want to do that, and I do, and I understand. I've been a competitive dancer myself. I've been a competitive fighter. It is kind of fun to compete to some extent, but there are also downsides with it, right? To
Yes.
find the best in the world.
But calculated like that, Sean, you have 100 organizations worldwide. Probably
Hmm.
it's more. Then you have four levels in it. It's already 400. Then you have, say, six age groups in it. Um, we were 400. You have 2,400 already. Um, that's amazing. So you have actually worldwide maybe more than 2,500 world champions
Each year,
who call them eh?
each
But
year.
each year, yes, and I call them each year the best. Can you imagine in soccer or in gymnastic, you have 2,500 world champions? That's quite
Well,
funny.
yeah, but in the ball and Latin world, we also have, of course, the two major. At least now, we used to have one major uh, organization, and yeah, it starts to be so fragmented nowadays. And then you have this phenomenon, what we call competitions, and they call them. In you have that in many sports, by the way. They call them open to the world. So it's not an official world champion, and there could be
Mhm.
very
It
few
could be.
competitors. Could be very
Or
few
World Cup.
competitors. Yeah, and then you also call yourself, yeah, I am a winner of an open to the world champion. So
Yeah. Yes. Then we come to, it's quite funny how it works, because when you put it then on your social media, I'm world champion, at least say the organization, I'm world champion from that organization
hmm
in that age category, in that level. I think it's even more. I didn't even do the age category, or I did. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Um, anyway, Sean, this is what I would do, but even it's quite strange still. And some, like people who have lessons, then they believe they are the best, they are world champion,
yeah,
but they see only that one small box where they are in, because you have so many different associations and so many different age groups and levels. It's so ha- it has so many varieties in it. And we work with two, actually, summative and formative. I think it's the same in English, Sean.
that is an English word. Yeah,
Ah, it's an English word.
yeah.
Yes, and you maybe you can explain the words, Sean. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
talking the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yes. Yeah. No. No. If we test people, and it's a little bit of an older way of testing people, by the way, Tom. But formative testing is when you test them, basically throughout the whole educational period, right? And that could also be, equate of several testing, but we call that, formative. It comes from the word forming, right? In the forming years of your
Pro-
education, whatever the education is, when you test that, it's called formative testing, right? So, and
process.
process, yeah, process or in the years. And then at the final, very often if you look at traditional school systems, at the final year or at the end of the year, they give one big test, and that's called a summative test, right? Now, very technical if it comes to pedagogy. You can have smaller summative tests also at the in between, but you don't look at the process. Very often in traditional school testing, that's only testing on the knowledge that people have. So there is function in both, but unfortunately, we put a lot of weight on the summative tests, right? And sometimes you could see a competition also as a summative test. It's just a picture of the moment, so to speak, right? And that's not following the dancer through a whole process of dancing. And that so you come according that principle. You see them everywhere, formative and summative.
Uh, one is result. You work for the result, summative, and the other one you work for the process. And in dancing,
Yeah,
in competition dancing, they work for the result there,
yeah,
and they forget sometimes the process. But if you work on the process, then you work to a certain result,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you don't check it or you don't have an endpoint. You just work to learn and to develop
yeah,
and to grow in that point. And in the other one, to work for a result, also on school, but also in the competition, you practice a lot before in a short period, say the day before or a week before, and then you get your test,
yeah,
and the day after or 2 days later or 3 days later, it's again out of the body and out of the mind, because the short memory will not catch it and bring it to the long term memory, because you not practice it. If you would practice it, then it would go from the short memory term to the long one.
yeah,
But this is not what happened when you work on summative. And it's also proven by the science that summative works only for the short term, and that's also good. Okay, uh, but formative, it's for the long term, and you keep it also inside your mind and inside your body if you use it. And this is a process because you repeat it more than the summative. And there are positive sides on both of them. Not the one is bad and the other one is good. No, no, both works. You need both. But if you want to develop, then I would work now much more process, in the direction of the process. I
yeah,
do, and you work also like that, Sean.
yeah. No, no,
I
but
hope.
of course, things like dancing work in that way, right? Those words are definitely coming from pedagogy. They're a little bit old-fashioned, to be honest. If you look at modern education, it's still practiced a lot, very commented. But you could look at it this way that um, that in dancing, for instance, we are only focused on that moment of performance, right? And you could arguably say if you put too much weight on that, and not that the performance is not important, but you could focus more on the process. The chances that then the performance in the end will be overall, at a different level, is actually higher than when you only immediately start to talk about the end test. That's a little bit the logic behind it. Anyhow, it's a little bit technical, and but so what has that to do all with the best dancer, Tom, in your mind?
Uh, yeah, I can tell you, Sean. I make show dances
Yeah,
and for the ballroom and Latin,
yeah,
and I made say two shows who were in the final,
yeah,
and I work with both. But you can feel on both couples they want to work on the result.
yeah,
But one of the couple was not far enough in the process um, to to yeah to they were less experienced than the other couple. I say it like that, and the other couple was more far in the process. And but the couple who was not so far in the process won the result. But the teacher was there on the side on the floor, have influence on it. Teacher is say a judge or invigilator, so he can manipulate it to the colleagues, and they are working on that result
hmm,
and not on the process of the couple. They work on the process, but at the end, the result is then the most important, you see. And I had also a similar experience. I won a competition, but actually, there was for the second couple, the audience liked more. And when I looked at that day, I said, yeah, they could win that competition because I saw them in the earlier rounds, and I thought this couple is more experienced. It's more far in the process at that day because it's also at the day how you feel. But I won there with the result. But actually, I was not happy with the result because I won the competition. But deep inside of me, I know it could be other way around. And okay, the people saw it like that, but still sometimes it's very very strange. And also with the other couple where said the other teacher tried to influence it, for me it's quite weird when you work with two of them and you work, and I perceive the information what I get there and also on the practice, and I know the level, and I know, and I compare it then also at that moment to how far is the girl, how far is the man in the process, and still then it's still the other way around. So that this result, working for the result, that's not give you the most fun. Maybe some people, because some you have, I'm 11 times world champion now, but the audience don't look to it. When you look on social media, they have 30,000 views, and the other one has 1.7 million views, who was second. So
yeah,
they look more, they don't look to the result of first and second, but they look what it is. And that's a process, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, you know, what's a world title? I mean, if someone is a world title, won 11 time, I think it's definitely a really good. Um, Let me turn off that sound on my computer. Yeah, I definitely think that is, that's definitely achievement. Whether that's the winner of the public, so to speak, that's a whole different thing. Um, because before we know, we start to flip it around, right? Saying, hey, the one who is a champion is not the real champion, and the other ones are better dancers. No, there is no that is not the case, of course, either, right? It is just it's just a title. It can make it very exciting. I still like to go to watch competitions, whether it's a dance competition or in another form. But we also have to know always that it is depending of a lot of variables why someone comes out first at a certain date. And the one who manages the process the best, to use that word, um, um, gets higher chances to end up on the first spot. And that doesn't mean that you always are recognized as the best. That's a whole different thing. But like I said, in a 100-meter sprint, it's a little bit easier to find the best because you measure it by time. But even there, you have a lot of variables that you can think about. But if it's on that one day, one Olympic event, you could say, okay, he's Olympic champion from all the runners that were there. He was the best, right? That doesn't mean that there might not be another runner in Jamaica who is even faster. So that's one thing. Um, but yeah, in competitions like dance, for instance, you have the same set of competition at the official world championships, and they become number one, and then 5 months later you have the same amount and the same competitors, but it is at another competition, not with that name on it, world champion, and another winner comes out. So that has been seen very often. Um, so yeah, of course, one has the world title and the other one has the title of that other competition. So, I mean, if we know all these things, the inside people know these things, right? The outside people often don't know that. You're on mute, Tom.
Yes, Sean, and they assume they are the best. And also, if you are win the world championship 11 times, you assume that it will be also at 12 times because it's already in the mind that it will be like
Other
that.
other
And
people's, yeah, yeah,
and when it's already in that mind, also
yeah,
from the judges, when they know they had that result, then the second or the runner up or the final who are in the final, they have to work 3 times more their ass off to get even close to the direction. And even when they are more further in the process, still you fight also again assumption. How you call that? Assumption. And this is also something what is in the people's mind already. Because when
yeah.
you think about pink, then you think not about another color.
No, but it's also very logical, right? If someone is already 10 times, we have seen that in our industry too, of course, at the ballroom and Latin industry. If someone is 10, 15, 12 times world champion, even if that person becomes older, almost out of obligation, that person gets the title no matter what that person does.
Yes,
Yeah, so that is the downside of a judging, adjudicating type of
yes,
sports. Not always saying that that's the case for people. I mean, I think in the a few years we had every time we had at one of the most prestigious competitions in the world, we had a different champion than the world champion. And the one was number two at the other competition, and vice versa. And they are actually pretty good friends. They laughed about it. They couldn't do anything about it, and they just started to compete to themselves, see if they could win that competition. So I don't want to say that someone who is 5 times a world champion that the second one is automatically better. It could still be
no, 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 no.
in that
There is
measurement the
a
best,
there
but
is a
still.
different process in it, Sean. When you look as a expert to the process, what they do at that day, I had this also once on a competition. The former champion didn't do their very very best for the first rounds, and thought, okay, we can make a walk through all these rounds. And the other couples who were in the final, they worked already from the beginning till the end. They were really present and tried to present them at the maximum what they could. And in the final, it was also something arrogant of walking on that floor and the expression of the body. I didn't like it at all. It's quite, I know it's subjective, but I like that the body speaks, the face speaks, you dance, really, you can feel the vibes in that person who want to put the maximum there. And it wasn't. I put them on the sixth place. the former world champion. Even I didn't give him marks to the final. And people after came to me and said, Why you judge so weird? I give them context and I explain to them. And they said to me, It is obvious that you could see that they have the best technique. Okay, I said, Can you give me some context what you mean with the best technique? I not understand that. Maybe you can explain it. Yeah, but it's obvious everybody can see that it has the best technique. I said, okay, I still not understand your word technique. Maybe you can explain. No, no, John, you don't want to understand it. So they walk from me away. And I will say after the podcast who was Sean. So I will not say the name now, but that was really, really, really strange for me because I wanted context. I gave my context, and for
Well,
me, this
no.
was my truth. It will not say that it's the truth. That was the best dancer to kick out. But for me, at that day, it wasn't the best dancer because he just walked on the floor and thought I
Yeah.
win it anyway because I'm already world champion.
Yeah.
And I don't like that attitude at all.
No.
I
But
like dancing.
that
Hmm?
doesn't mean that all world champions have that attitude.
No, no, not at all. Not at all, Sean.
Mm.
That it's from person to person different and from mind to mind because everybody has a different brain, a different body.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I didn't believe it what he delivered on the floor.
Yeah.
So, and it's still subjective.
Yeah.
And I know that also. But I not go with the mass and put just first because he was first last year. I look to that moment. But also in the theater happens the same, Sean. In the theater, when people know NDT will come, Netherlands Dance Theater, NDT, or Dutch Dance Theater, people and also the presentator frame them as the best company in the world. Then they go on the floor. Then they dance the performance. Last time I was there because my daughter danced also there. And then they walked with the presentation with any smile. They didn't really focus to the audience. They dance if it was a job at that day. And they get standing ovation. But I didn't stand for it because they stand before it. They framed it already as the best company in the world, and they framed it also after as the best company in the world, and they were happy that they were there. But if you really think by yourself and you perceive with your senses, with your eyes, with your ears, what you feel when you think about it, but the most people in that that's also, I
An
assume,
assumption. That's also an
yes,
assumption. Yeah.
absolutely. I This is why I tell it. Um, that's what I can say about it. For me, it's strange when you not give your maximum. I want to feel that performance, and but that's an assumption because the most people are not experts in that theater. They just watch and they want to enjoy. So for them, it was enjoyable, but they didn't know that they manipulate them to frame it already as the best company in the world. Then it must be the best one.
Yeah. Well, of course, that, but it happens everywhere. I don't
Yeah.
see anything worse with it because I mean, I gave you that example. Like once I was driving from here to, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, to New Orleans, I believe, and there was this big billboard. Normally you see the best restaurant here or the best this, the
Yes,
best,
yes, yes.
and then we came to a smaller town and it says the second best burger in town. And it was very busy, so I thought it was really funny. So it's a little bit of a play what we do because everyone tell themselves that the best. And I can give you an example out of my own thing. I'm a bestseller author, because at some point in time in several categories, my book was best selling compared to other books. And from that moment on, I'm allowed to call myself a bestseller author. Yeah, is that bad or is that wrong? Should I write down I was a bestseller author in the period of, in this and this category? Now I had 7 categories, so that's quite impressive still. But of course, yeah, these things happen all the time. For me, it's literally not so important, but it helps to, you know, impress,
Yes, to focus
impress
maybe to it,
to
Sean.
impress
That
a little bit. Yeah.
yeah.
And I had another example with a competition twice, actually, that happened twice in a row, where former champions came on the floor. Big dance competition, you can imagine, right? There are several rounds. So I have to explain that to people, right, how a competition goes. But in a huge competitions, you have multiple rounds of dancers, and then the final round is where a small group of dancers, decide who is then the champion. And this 2 dancers in 2 separate years, they came on the floor with a new partners, and they were both were, finalists. And a lot of people were saying like, why would they do that? And they're already champion, and they think now that they just can show off, and they expect now also to be a finalist. Now, none of them made the finals, by the way. But I said to some people, can it be that those people just want to dance? Why do you immediately think that they go for prestige? you know, why? I mean, that's the other side, right? So a lot of us professional dancers think they cannot do a competition anymore because they're afraid, like, oh my, now they are going to judge me because, yes, I'm a completely different dancer now at my age of 63 than at the age of 35, obviously, right? And but I still enjoy to dance. I said, why can those people not just dance because they like it? They clearly had a lot of fun with it, right? They had more fun maybe than ever than when they were champions. So it goes both ways, Tom. It can go
Yes,
both ways.
absolutely, Sean. In the in the biggest dance industry before was the WDC in
Yeah.
the ballroom Latin world,
Mhm.
and we had a world champion, Donny Burns and Gaynor Fairweather.
Yeah.
There was already 13 times world champion. They stopped with dancing, and 2 years later, they thought, okay, we want to start again. And they did exactly the same. They wanted only to have world championships, not a Blackpool winner or international or UK, because this competition they didn't do, because they know that the world title sounds, say in that same wording, the best for the audience. So they wanted to get that title, and they won it again.
Yeah.
And and
I
the
remember
second
the
one,
competition. Yeah.
and that was in South Africa, yes.
Exactly.
So, and after he gets president of that organization, and he's still president, it was around, what was it, in around 2099, something
Something like
like
that.
that, 1999. And now he is still, after that, he was immediately president, and he is still president. And yeah, it's funny how it goes. And but if you really look to it, I would look to the people on the dance floor, if you could see if they love dance and if they enjoy it. And not only that, but also how they use certain elements on the floor, like space time, or their personality on the floor, and symmetric, asymmetric. If I wanted to stay with the jam, but there are so many elements where you could analyze the dance with, and also could enjoy it when you could see it. And yeah, I don't want to see only a puppet on that floor. I want to see a real human being on that floor who is going for the max, and that you can feel the vibe what the performer wants to give there. And this is where I'm looking for. I don't look for a title, because I have to see if the dance
And Ton is freezing up. Not sure what's going on, but
I'm
then I just
freezing up, Sean.
yes, you were frozen, but then I just fill up the time.
Yes, yes. But if they um, the number five, then, when I look to them, I really get goosebumps. I made the show also, and the number one wins, and I not understand that. So anyway, we are turn around behind our tail, but it's quite strange why they frame it like that always as a marketing thing, I would say. But I have the best earphone, the best mic,
Mm,
and we have the best podcast. So when I tell you many times we have the best podcast, you would believe it.
mhm.
But actually, I say always when people have lessons from me, Sean,
They become the best.
don't no, don't trust me. Don't trust me and don't
Yeah,
believe me.
yeah.
This is what
Well,
I tell to
yeah.
them.
Well, the deeper issue with this is, I like competitions, to be honest, right? But the deeper competition is that uh, if this becomes such a big industry as that we live in, it that's not only the ballroom dancing, but you see it in all kind of dancing. Then people are willing to do almost everything just for the title, and also other people are doing things to say that they can help you to get that title. And then all kind of other things come in, and you see it in all organizations. Of course, we know our industry probably the best, but I've been in other organizations myself, and you see the same thing where people start to manipulate, where students start to do crazy things just to become the best. So you have in bicycle racing, biking, they use all kind of drugs to be the best. We do all kind of things to manipulate the results because we think it's so important, and that's where actually the best dancer becomes actually not such a funny title anymore. When I started to dance and we just had a little championship in the dance studio, it was all fun. It was like really, and then afterwards you go sit, take a beer, or if you drink beer, with the one that you were competing with, and then you say, next time I'll get you, right? And then so it was a little bit fun. And I noticed how even my mind started to changed when I got into the bigger and bigger competition. Nerves comes in. You start to think that, oh, if that judge is there, I will never be the champion. Most of the time, they don't even know you, but that's what people start to say. Oh, that judge looks more technical, and they start to use kind of weird words that we start to always debunk, you and me, Tom. But that's where it becomes really scary, and that sometimes even people are willing to pay for it. Maybe not directly with money, but in other ways to pay for it. And then just a little bit to make it a little bit more exciting, you are willing to
Yeah,
sell your soul to get that title.
yeah.
And
You
yeah,
you can manipulate it as a judge, as a trainer. You can manipulate it, and I know many tricks also, Sean.
yeah,
But I don't. I know also where the people want to look to, and if you work in that format to that point,
hmm
then probably you can win it. But that's actually not interesting anymore for me. But sometimes when I know this dancer want to have a result, I know exactly where I can work on. Uh, but now, as an artist, I call myself a real artist. And what is a real artist? If you are free from rules and free from manipulations, just put that what you feel and what you think on that floor. But then I feel when I work on that one, on that process, Sean, that some of the dancers say, "Yeah, but this is not correct, Sean, Ton, because when we do it like that, we not and win the competition.
yeah,
Then we are not the best anymore."
yeah. Yeah, that's well, then you have to look in yourself and saying, hey, what is more valuable for myself, right? Is it the process or is it that title? So that's where that first discussion comes in. And
Summative or formative.
yeah, what is more important to you? And I have no judgment over it. Where my
No.
judgment comes in, if we becomes too, if it becomes not fair anymore, which we see too, that's where I start to become a little bit, um, a little bit allergic. So let me give you an example, and I know you agree with it. If the rules are actually not clear, then what does it matter? Then
Yeah,
very
what does
often,
it matter?
yeah, the
And
very often
even
the
when
rules are not clear. Yeah,
and even when they are clear and they not check it.
that same thing. That would be the same thing. So, and then you come, of course, to our old topic. Is it okay? It's nice to call a certain competition world title, but can we? It's just the winner of that competition. In our form, it's just at that competition. And but we put so much weight on it, and often it has to do with money, how many invitations you get, and in your example, even to your future as the president of a certain organization. It's all depending on the title. See, and then it becomes a whole different thing. And I don't think that I kind of object to. Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes, but in a theater where works also like that, Sean.
Probably, yeah, same.
Exactly. Um, the programmer or the company, they want the best choreographer, but actually it's maybe by name the best, and maybe by experience. When you take a 90 years old choreographer there, yes, that's super because that's a legend when you can have lessons with them. But don't call them please the best because that's really you put other choreographers then down because he works in a certain um, how you say time frame where he worked before, and he worked from his experience now with 90 years old. So I want also to have lessons then from him and work once with these legends, but don't please call them the best because it isn't, because you have other very very experienced choreographers, maybe 17 years old, and they are exceptional, different. So, but they don't call them the best because they are young and they want to have work and they do more. Or when you are 22 or 30 years old, of course you cannot compare that to a 30 years old choreographer. And that's what the outside world make from it, Sean. He wins a lot of prizes. Yes, yes, nice. And then I look to the choreography and I think, okay, to the dancer who executed, I think, okay, for that time frame period, it was fantastic. But now our world is changing. So we not drive anymore in the car of 50 years ago. Yes, I want it because I like old timers. But still our technique, our environment, everything is changing. Also our assuming what we assume. And when you still frame it every time, it's the best choreographer, it's the best dancer. Yeah, that I get allergic to that word because the best is what you mean
Subjective.
with the best. It has no
Yeah,
context.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that is always that's always hard on. I had a workshop in our studio last weekend with a good colleague of ours, and he's a former three times world champion. And I introduced him as the former three times world champion, and said, "But that is of course not even important." And he looked at me, "Wow, a world champion? Why is that not important?" I said, "Of course, way more important to who he is as a person and what he has to offer to do you today on the workshops, right? So let's look at that
Yes.
and let's enjoy that." And he, of course, he agreed. He smiled. He said that was great. He said because but we all do it. We use these accolades. I know that my career as a mental coach or as a dance coach would be different if I had a few world titles, on my shoulder. But in reality, I probably would teach the same thing.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
but
Sean.
that's it. And to some extent, when people heard that. I studied the same thing as that my colleague did. They like, what? You were with him. I said, so they value. I mean, I'm glad that we could do it. By the way, it's a great person. It's fun to have him around. But yeah, people think that because he's a world champion, so his information is automatically better. And it
Yes.
could be. It could be. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not. It's not automatic. So people, I don't know. If I go to now that I live from the Netherlands in the United States, Ton, if I come to the Netherlands, suddenly I am a teacher from the United States, and people look at me differently than
Yes.
when I was just working in the Netherlands. And you know by now what I've studied and what I've done. Of course, we have changed. You and I have changed in the last 4 or 5 years a lot, right?
Yes,
Because
a
of
lot.
the work,
And still
and
changing.
still, so what we do. But probably people still view us quite the same as 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes. You know what is the most biggest compliment what I could get, Sean?
Hmm.
Even from a world champion who is, in my eyes, world champion, but still not the best because the best not exist. But the most beautiful compliment is, Ton, you changed my life. Through your eyes, I see the world now different.
Yeah,
And that's the most beautiful compliment. Then we don't speak about results, but about a process, how you see the world now, or how you perceive the world with
yeah,
all your senses, and and that's really really beautiful because you can open eyes from people and look dance from a different perspective. That's also the title of my book, and that's the beauty of it, to see it from a different angle. And this is the beauty of it, because you have so many different angles. You have not only one to see it as the best dancer or the best choreographer or the best headphone or the best microphone, because there comes a lot of more. You can see it as a quality through it, and yeah, that's beautiful when people give that compliment. Then I'm really, the whole day I'm so happy.
yeah, yeah. Of course, that is. I mean, very blessed that we both can work as dance teachers and dance educators. I mean, truly feel blessed um, with it. I still love competitive dancing with all the remarks that I give on it, specifically where winning the competition becomes the goal in an unhealthy way, right?
Hmm.
When you put yourself just to the test, because you like that, then I think that's a great thing to do. But unfortunately, yeah, in every organization that grows to a certain level, these things come in. You see it in the corporate world, you see it in the theater world, you probably see it in any world that we see. When power comes in, you know,
Yes, yes, Sean, absolutely. But I
power and
will
money
also,
comes in, then it
yes,
becomes ugly.
yes. When I go to the best competition of the world, actually, for me, when I go to this competition, it's not the best competition in the world. No, it's the one where I have the most nice experience in it,
Yeah,
and where the experience what I can take for many years with me,
yeah,
not because it's the best competition, but the format I like very lot. How the environment is, the lighting is, the presentation is, the timing is there from the how the music is there. And in this theater, the same. If I go to a theater, I want to have an experience there in that theater, and not see a company who just do their work. I want to see their passion. I want to see, it's not only the dancing but also everything my surrounding in. It's so important that everything gives you an experience, and then you could call it for yourself. that that was the best, but I think you had the most nice experience with it.
Yeah, well, an experience is very personal.
Yes,
I clearly remember when I, for the first time, came to a theater and saw a play on stage, and I was like, oh, this must be the best thing in the world. It was the first time that I saw it, so it was overwhelming experience. And then, of course, further I went into dancing and performance art. I start to become, unfortunately, a little bit more critical what I see, so my experience becomes different. But I must say, on in the later years, um, I start to also try to just see it as audience and just let it come over me. There was a while where I was only looking at, what are they doing, and but now I can just relax and just see it, and
and
maybe I want,
enjoy it.
yeah, enjoy it, and maybe I use once in a while subjective words like good or bad, but I don't mean anything with it anymore. I'm
Uh,
not curious who is the winner even.
no,
I'm just saying, okay, that's fine. They thought he was the winner or they were the winner. I just pick a few people that I like to follow,
yes,
and then I have more time than trying. Oh, do I agree with the adjudicator? Because most of the time
uh,
I don't, and
no, no,
but and
and
it's a
don't try to
personal,
understand it.
and
Also,
I also don't understand it exactly. So I have a good time with friends looking at the competition, and just then I see
so
things that I like or
you
sometimes
loved,
don't like.
yeah, you love the process to be there, to
Exactly.
meet people, and bring nice experience home
Yeah.
for the year after. To want to go again to that
Yeah.
competition or to that theater where you was, or to that cinema, and have the again nice experience.
Yeah.
And even Sean, I saw a movie like 20 years ago. I can exactly say which movie it was, and still it stays with me. But I forgot the place where I was. I know the city where I was, but I
Hmm.
forgot the theater, how it looks there, how the entrance was. I remember only that movie that catched me for my life, and the same you could see this with dancing. So when somebody blow you away with that performance, this
Yeah.
stays a long time with you.
No, definitely, definitely. The first. I still remember when I saw the first uh, big professional competition. I went, my story. I went into this whole dance world without knowing anyone, so I was not immediately impressed by anyone, or impressed by everyone. That was just the case. So I met people, and people say, "Oh, don't you see them? They are really good." I said, "Okay, I don't see it. I think the other one is better, but maybe." And then they start to explain to you why you need to think that those are better, and I never understood that either. And then they say something like, yes, because they are already 10-time champions. You have to find them the best. I said, okay, maybe they are, but I like the other one more. Is that okay? Uh, Apparently, that's not okay. Um, so that's funny.
Yes,
It's
I would speak more not about that, but I would speak about how was the pathway, all how was the
technically.
expression,
Yeah,
and had that communication. Maybe a talk like that, and for me, talk about results that
yeah,
that's
meaningless for
meaningless.
for 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 me. And it's nice to sit to next to someone where you can talk about these things. I think, hey, okay, but what about this, what about that, and just to hear their opinion, not even to say, oh no, you have to find it better or not.
Yes, but on the competition floor, I can exactly see who is do a routine or really
Yeah,
create that routine.
at the
In
moment, yeah.
the theater, exactly the same. I can see who one, the one is who is doing their work, or the one who really enjoyed that evening. That's for me, and I like the people who enjoy that moment on that stage and try to perform and to give themselves on that stage. And
Definitely.
that's the most nice. If that would be in a theater or on a competition floor, it doesn't matter. But please, don't please put just a result there as work or as a routine. That's something what I not want to see, and uh, and I don't believe it also. So I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So work on the process and result important. That's important, but more work on that result. Develop yourself, grow to another person, see the world and the dance from a different perspective,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I want
Yeah.
to give to them, to you.
Good. Well, I would like to say this, right? So if you work on the process, fall in love with the process. That's what I always say. And I always add, be curious to the result yourself. You know, don't be
Yes.
fixated on one result, but you will never get there. But be
No.
curious, be fall in love with the process and then tinker on the process and then be curious what the outcome is as much as anyone else. And I think that, I mean, for me, there's a lot of attraction in that. Most people maybe need to think about a little bit what that means when you do that. Um, but that's probably a good ending of the best dancer of today, Tom. I'm so sorry that you're not the
Yes.
best dancer. I thought,
Yes, I'm not in my mind only, and I never show it that I'm the best one. No, no, I we have the best podcast, Sean.
we have the best. We have the best podcast. That is so true. Okay, it was a lighter discussion, but I liked it a lot. The best dancer, is that possible or not? I let you all decide whether you agree with us or not. We talked a lot about process. We use sometimes fancy word like formative and summative. Listen back to it. There might be more pearls of knowledge in there uh, than you
Maybe
think.
maybe some funny. Try to be better than the version for yesterday.
And that is always a good thing. Yeah, that's the only
Yeah.
competition you should do. All
So
right,
try to be
Don,
the best version every day, every
of
moment
yourself.
of yourself. Yes,
Yeah,
but we forget that.
yeah, we sometimes forget that. Yeah. All right, Ton. That was another episode of Dance Jams. I'm going to say goodbye to our listeners and viewers, and I'll hope to hear them back in the next episode with another topic. I'll see you around, Ton.
Yes,
This was Dance Jams. I'm going to start the music. Maybe you want to close it off with some nice words.
yes, of course. Yes, try to work now from this minute on the process. Try to find yourself. Try to reach something what you never saw before. So, but you don't know what it is. So don't search it. It will come to you.
That sounds like wise words. All right, this was
I
Dance
hope.
Jams with the title "The Best Dancer," and you can find us always on Spotify, Dance Dash Jams, also Apple with the same title. We have our own podcast, Dance Jams, of course, and on our website jam.dance/podcast, you can find every episode as well. All right, this was Sean and Tona. We see you next time. Bye bye.
Goodbye.